Hello everyone, welcome to What If Luffy ate the Mythical Zoan, the Serpent Serpent Model Dragon King Part 1. Before we start, please go support Kaidu051 for writing that awesome fanfic. Now let's begin. Chapter 1, Birth of the Dragon King. Our story begins in a small humble village with fields, forests and windmills surrounding it, a group of pirates drinking in a bar. This bar is owned and run by a young woman named Makino, who is currently giggling to herself watching the antics of the pirate captain and his daughter, and with a young boy. Luffy, you're an idiot. A girl with red and white hair angrily complains to a 7-year-old boy. But it didn't hurt a bit, Luffy replied, with some tears down his face after stabbed himself under the eye. Liar, never do something so stupid again. A 27-years-old man yells at young Luffy. This man was tall and slightly stocky, with a slightly sun-tanned skin. But Shanks, I also want to be a pirate. You saw what I did, next time take me to the sea. Luffy yelled excitedly, finding a smiling Shanks in response. You can't be a pirate, you don't even know how to swim, Shanks replied to Luffy. And with this being said, another of the red-haired pirates named Luckyaroo comes to Luffy and tells him. He means you're just too young to join, Luckyaroo said, telling Luffy the reason of why he can't join the crew, but that was just making Luffy get even angrier. Please, I'm not kid and I'm old enough to join. Luffy yelled and turned to Yuta and said, plus Yuta is just a child like me. Hey, I'm old enough just a little, Yuta replied, little embarrassed and blushing, annoyed at Luffy's words. Yuta is my daughter, so it's a different case, Shanks said to Luffy. As long as I stay on the ship I'll be fine. Also, I am stronger than Yuta, as my fist is as strong as a bullet. Luffy shows off his punch by punching the air, but Shanks really isn't impressed. The bullet? Yes, of course, Shanks mentions with a bored face. What kind of tone is that? Luffy exclaims angrily in his response. Calm down, take this glass of juice and go play with Yuta, Shanks said, giving the boy a glass of juice, to which he seems quite happy as he goes to Yuta, but they soon stop when they hear Shanks laugh. See how you are still a child, as I know pirates don't drink juice. Ahahaha. Shanks said, laughing, as do the other members of his crew. Luffy got mad, but Ben Beckman says to Luffy. Luffy, Shanks is not laughing at your dream, but rather how you don't understand our captain's feelings. We all know that the life of a pirate is interesting, but that life is also very dangerous and difficult to live in, do you understand, Luffy? Ben Beckman said, the Shanks' right-hand man and the vice-captain of the red-haired pirate. Yuta was smiling, thinking that she understood the words of her uncle figure, and Luffy was almost convinced. Yes, laughing at Luffy amuses me. And that Shanks ruined it, laughing from the bar. Shanks just takes me for an idiot. Luffy promptly claims. This day in bar was full of laughter, alcohol and food. Luffy, would you like to eat something? Makino said, kindly asks Luffy, sitting next to Yuta after playing with her for a while. Okay. I'll pay you with my treasure. Luffy gladly accepts, after all his stomach was bottomless. But Luffy, you don't have any treasure? Yuta said, with a confused face. I'll pay you with the treasure you find when I'm a pirate, Luffy answered. Makino had accepted the offer, laughing with delight. You'll have to wait like 10 years, Shanks and Yuta mention almost in unison, but in reality that seemed like just small details at the time. Shanks was enjoying his sake, his crew were having fun, Luffy was eating, and Yuta was drinking juice. But then Shanks and some of his comrades had realized something and turned to look at Luffy. Luffy, what did you eat? Shanks said. Dessert, Luffy responds, then his face turns bitter of what he ate. That fruit was pretty bad, Luffy said. Did you eat a fruit like this? Luckyaroo said, showing a drawing in a notebook of a fruit that had spiral patterns all over it. Yes, Luffy promptly admits, before the terrified or disappointed look of all the pirates in the bar. After all, that is the fruit they stole from the world government, but now disappeared forever. You're an idiot. Shanks yells at Luffy. You're an idiot. As Luffy repeat what Shanks said. You're not getting it, Luffy, what you just ate was a devil fruit. A treasure we stole that grants its users powers, but in return it will take your ability to swim, Ben explains to Luffy, whose jaw drops to the ground in exaggeration. What? The boy exclaims, terrified, while the red-haired pirate's eye. Shanks turned to Luffy and screamed, you just eat the Serpent Serpent fruit model. Dragon King, a devil fruit that allowed you to turn into a dragon. But as Shanks said dragon, Luffy's become excited at the possibility of becoming a dragon. Why are you being happy, didn't Ben say you will never swim again? Shanks yelled out. I know, but if I can transform into a dragon I will become very strong, so with that will you let me your crew, Luffy said with a smile. Sorry Luffy, I still have my reason to why you can't join, even if you have a devil fruit, Shanks said, but with that Luffy shout out and said, come on, I'm strong, and I can become a dragon, why can't I join? And Shanks said, Luffy, you're still too young, and with that they begin to argue again. But as they were arguing the doors were opened with such force that nearly broke the wall behind them. The one who did it was the mountain bandits. The bandit leader called himself Aguma the Bear, with 8 million bellies. Luffy and Yuta didn't like the looks of him or how things come crashing down to fun and carefree to serious and foreboding. We are mountain bandits, we aren't here to cause trouble. We just want to buy 10 barrels of sake, Haguma said. Makino ran a hand through her hair nervously before responding, I'm sorry, but we already run out of sake. Oh? Then what are all these pirates drinking? Is it water, Haguma said. They drinking sake, but that's all we have, Makino said, but then Shanks appeared. Here, I haven't opened this bottle yet if you want to take it, Shanks said, giving the bottle for him to grab. Annoyed, Haguma grabbed his cutlass and smashed the bottle, sending the glass all over the floor and Shanks' hair. You think this is enough for me? I wouldn't even give it to a child. He dug into his coat pocket and pulled out a bounty poster. See this? I'm a wanted man, 8 million beery, and I've even killed 56 people. Don't mess with me. To the shock of the children watching, instead of Shanks taking action, Shanks just squatted down and picked up the pieces of glasses and asked Makino for a mop to clean it up. Haguma looked down in disgust at what the pirate said and with another sweep of his blade, knocked over the row of bottles sitting above Shanks. There, if you like cleaning so much, this should keep you happy for days, he spat out with a smirk on his face. Telling his men to join him, and he left and the pirate crew burst into laughter. He got you good, Cap, Luckyaroo said, but was interrupted by Shanks. Did you see his face? Shanks said, and with that he and his crew laugh again. But Luffy and Yuta weren't having it at all. What were you doing, Shanks? Luffy and Yuta said with a jaw gaping and anger on their little face. He made you look stupid and you didn't fight 1-to-1, but all Shanks did was smile slightly back and with a sigh explained, not all fights are worth fighting. Sometimes, it's better to just sit back and laugh. Besides, that guy was a weakling, no point in fighting. His finished speech sparked another round of laughter with his crew. Then Luffy stood up from his seat and walked towards the door. Hey Luffy, where are you going? Shanks said. To find a better role model, Luffy said, going out the door. Hey Luffy, wait for me. Yuta said, running after him. Hey Shanks, do you think they will be okay? Ben Beckman said, looking at Shanks as he just smiled. Few weeks later, the scene that the red-haired pirate saw was one they didn't see that much in the chaos of the new world, a simple hostage scenario with Haguma, the bandit from before. Luffy was on the ground, having been forced there by his captor's boot. I see you've gotten yourself into a pickle, huh Luffy? Shanks yelled out to Luffy. And here I was, thinking your fist was as strong as a pistol. Shut up. Luffy yelled back, trying but failing to push back up against the boot of the bandit. I'm okay, just give me time and I'll beat their ass. An anchor like you that can't even swim? I'd like to see you try. Shanks said, with humor in his voice as he took another step forward but stopped when he heard Yuta says. Hey Shanks, will Luffy be okay? Yuta said, with a worried face. Of course, Shanks replied, reassuring his daughter. Don't move, one of the bandits said with a gun in his hand, or we'll shoot. As if he had heard nothing at all, Shanks' crew just kept moving forward. I said don't move. As one of the bandits drew his gun and put it centimeters away from the left side of Shanks' head. Are you willing to risk your life? Shanks muttered with a strong inflection still behind his words. What? The bandit questioned. Guns aren't toys and they aren't for threats. Guns are for using. A bang went out, but instead of seeing Shanks' dead body like Luffy, Makino, Yuta, and the mayor, the latter two of which were standing behind the group of bandits and pirates, they witnessed Luckyaroo's gun go off, killing the threat instantly. Luffy's eyes widened, having just seen the first murder of his life, while Makino covered her mouth and the mayor just sighed. Luckyaroo just took a bite out of his meat, like he hadn't just killed a man. You can't do that, that's not fair at all. One of the bandits in the crowd said. Ben Beckman stood up next and replied, fair? I don't know what you expected. We're not saints, we're pirates. As he finished his speech and pointed his rifle's butt at the group as if he was going to use it as a club. If you want to fight us, bring a warship next time. Haguma, quickly realizing the trouble he was in, tried to save his face with a rushed compromise. Hey, he started it by attacking me. How about we just put our weapons away and settle this like men? But one of the bandits was stomped out by Luffy's yelling, because you are insulting Shanks, you asshole. As Shanks hid his eyes in his straw hat and said what reverberated deep inside Luffy's soul. I can handle being spit on, berated, made fun of, I'll just laugh it all off, he said as his eyes met Haguma, but I will never let someone get away with harming a friend, you get that? Once again, Luffy's eyes widened in shock at the choice of words by the red-haired pirate. But Haguma wasn't having it. Now that his final plan has failed him, and that damned pirate took out the rest of his bandits with just one rifle, he threw a smoke bomb onto the ground and ran as fast as he could towards the coast. Fuck, I lost him. Shanks cried out in panic when Luffy was just sitting few feet away from him, was nowhere to be seen. Yasopp attempted to calm him down and pointed out that they couldn't get far away in such a short time, letting Shanks breathe normally and to think about where Luffy could be. I was gonna just sell you on the black market for some money, but now you've pissed me off. And with a sweep of his arm, he sent the boy on the boat soaring into the air and plunging into the sea. Despite his body unconsciously Luffy's body trying to transform, so it was for naught and he plugged into the ocean. But try as he might, the sea slowly ate him up, reaching to his shoulders. Aguma laughed at his genius, with the kid gone he could go back and take out that good that for nothing crew that nearly ended him in the first place. Before he could even turn around, a large shadow cast on his body and covered his clothes. He turned around, only managing a second of vision before a massive sea king ate him up in a single bite. The Sea King, called the Lord of the Coast by locals, was a brown eel-like creature with razor-like teeth and a fan on its back. It was 40 meters long, and its eyes were now focused on Luffy's failing form. It rushed forward and the sound of flesh ripping and bone cracking was heard before Luffy was swept into the chest of a larger man. "Hey, Luffy, are you alright? I thought I nearly lost you there," Shanks whispered, his arm keeping Luffy close to him. A sound to his right diverted the attention of the Sea King once again swam forward. But before it could continue, Shanks would look at the Sea King and unleash his conqueror's haki on the beast. At last, the Sea King, with what little intelligence it had, swam back and left the two humans alone in the water. Shanks' head turned back and down, only to see Luffy bawling and trying to get words to thank him. "Did something happen again?" Shanks questioned. "Why wire arm?" Luffy answered. And he was right. The sound of bones and flesh wasn't Luffy, he was safe and physically unharmed. But what was left of his left arm was instead a bleed stump, the Sea King having gotten one piece of the pirate. "It's just an arm, I still have another." "I'm just happy you're safe," Shanks reassured him. The two would just float there in the water until Shanks got the energy to swim back to shore. Few months later, "Are you too sad? We'll be gone for good now, and you won't see us again," Shanks teased both Luffy and Yuta. "Yeah, still want to come with us to the seas?" Lucky Roo took another bite of his meat as men behind him loaded up the Red Force for the last time. "No." Luffy yelled back, "I'm gonna be my own pirate and make my own crew. And when we grow older we find every pirate and beat their ass too. And after I'm gonna be king of the pirates." Then Yuta yelled out, "Yeah, and I'm gonna to be the world #1 singer." Shanks just smiled and took his hat off his head. "King of the pirate, eh? And world #1 singer, that's some dreams of yours." As he gently took out his straw hat, "Take this for me, will you? It's a treasure of mine and I want you two to bring it back to me when you both are great pirates, can you two do that for me?" But when Shanks said that, Luffy started crying, as did Yuta, and they said, "We will, Shanks, we will." As the ship navigator called for everyone to get on, the men still standing on the shore turned back and walked up the wooden ramp onto the desk. The townspeople minus the mayor waved at the pirates goodbye. "I'm sad they had to go, they were here for a year, and Luffy is their friends and Yuta father," Makino said with a sad face, "but look at the red-haired pirates one last time." "I love to see them again," Makino said with a smile. "Well, for me I am glad they're going away for good, we don't need some good-for-nothing pirates ruining this town's reputation," the mayor mumbled in return. As the ship turned into a speck of dirt on the horizon, Luffy turned Yuta as he grabbed her and they started to run towards the forest. They had 10 years until they could leave and they were going to show everyone to not mess with the future king of the pirate and potentially the future queen of the pirate. Chapter 2. Ace and Sabo. Weeks later, Shanks and his crew left Fuchsia village. Deep in the forest we see Luffy and Yuta training in the forest. After all, they do want to be great pirates. "See, Yuta, how much we train the more powerful we will become," Luffy said with a smile. "And with this progress, we might even surpass Shanks," Yuta replied as she threw another punch at Luffy as Luffy dodged the punch. But while this was happening, a large man appeared who was looking for Luffy in the forest. "Where is that brat?" the large man said, looking around the forest, but then spotted him fighting someone. He was surprised that Luffy was training before he got here, but never mind that, and he ran towards him. "Luffy, and what are you doing?" the large man yelled out to Luffy, and this man was Luffy's grandfather, Vice Admiral Garp, who had just arrived at Fuchsia village. "Grandpa, what are you doing here?" Luffy said, with a scared face, thinking that his grandpa will train him again. "I was just looking for you, but now you're here, it's time for training," Garp said, and went in and punched Luffy. As Garp punches Luffy with one of his fist of love, Luffy drops on the ground with a bump on his forehead, despite the devil fruit he had. "Luffy, who is this?" Garp said, turning his head and pointing at Yuta. "Yuta, a future member of my crew," Luffy replied, but still hurt from the punch his grandpa gave him. Garp stopped as he heard that Luffy said his future crew member, and with that he went mad and hit both of them and yelled out, "Luffy, stop talking about pirates, and you, we just met, but you too will become a marine as well." As he knew that Luffy and this newcomer will become great marines, but then remembered what Makino said, that Luffy was with a red-haired pirate and ate their devil fruit they had. "And why were you with a red-haired pirate? And from what I heard from the village, you ate a devil fruit," Garp screams out loud as Luffy was terrified, but Yuta stood up and said, "Hey old man, stop being so mean to Luffy," Yuta said with a cute angry face, but Garp just laughed at her, but then remembered he never saw or heard of this Yuta person from Fuchsia village. When he came to visit, it was like she appeared out of nowhere. "Oh wait, so you're Yuta, right? So where are you from?" Garp said, looking at Yuta. That right, my name is Yuta, and well Shanks left me here so I can train and be with Luffy, and I am also his daughter, Yuta replied. Garp was surprised that this girl was the daughter of Shanks and that he left her here. And with that he thought to himself, even though she's daughter of a pirate, maybe she can become a marine with Luffy and Ace. Garp then imagined all three of them in marine uniform and smiled widely as he was looking at the two. Maybe it is time for Luffy to meet Ace. Garp thought to himself, turned to Luffy and Yuta and said, Luffy, Yuta, you two will be coming with me, as he grabbed both Luffy and Yuta. Grandpa, where are we going? Luffy asks curiously, wanting to know where he and Yuta are going. We are going to meet an old friend of mine, Garp replied, as they went deeper in the forest. A few hours later, they arrive at a hidden cabin in the mountains, from which they could see the entire Goa kingdom. Hey Dayton, come out, I bought 2 more children to take care of, Garp said loudly, as he knocked on the door. Then the door opened, and a rather tall and overweight middle-aged woman with long orange curly hair and with somewhat of a masculine face, and said to Garp, what the fuck, Garp, what are you doing here? Dayton replied angrily at Garp, but when she saw the 2 kids, she became mad at Garp for thinking this place is a kindergarten. I want you to take care of them, Garp said, pointing to Luffy who was picking his nose and with Yuta who was angrily telling Luffy to stop that. Grandpa, who's that? Luffy said, who was still picking his nose, but Yuta just grabbed his hand to make him stop. That Dayton, she's the leader of the mountain bandits of the Goa kingdom, Garp mentions to Luffy and Yuta, but they are still not sure of the woman in front of them. Hey, don't ignore me, and why would I take care of these kids? Dayton said, still angrily, that he brought 2 more children to her care. Okay, I will explain. I want you to take care of my grandson and his friend while I'm gone, Garp insists with a big smile. Taking care of Ace was hard enough, but caring for 2 more children is like hell, Dayton replied, remembering Ace's antics. Would you like to spend your life in prison? Remember, I overlook all the crimes you committed. Garp smirks and looks at Dayton who is still angry. Fine, I will take them, but I won't be so nice, Dayton said, staring at the 2. Luffy and Yuta looked at each other and then at Dayton and said, it doesn't matter what you do to us, we just want to be fed, and with that Dayton looked at the 2 wanting to speak back but couldn't, so she just went back inside. Well, that is it, I hope you 2 will be happy here, I am leaving now, Garp said, who was about to leave but was grabbed by Luffy. What, you're leaving already? Luffy said, somewhat sad that his grandpa was leaving already. See Luffy, I still have a job, but don't worry, I will come back to see you too, Garp said and went back to his ship and left. Luffy, don't worry, you still have me, Yuta said, as she hugged Luffy, and he replied, you're right, but when Grandpa comes back we will be ready. As he looked at Yuta, she smiles and agreed and says, come on, let's check this place out. On the battleship, as we see the ship go further away from Goa Kingdom, we see Garp smiling look back at the island. He knew that Luffy, Yuta and Ace will become great marine, but when he thought of Ace, but forgot again to tell them about him. Oh wait, I forgot to tell them about Ace, Garp thought to self, but he just laughed as he knew that when they met him, they would be good friends. Back at the cabin, we see Luffy and Yuta going inside the cabin, but as they entered suddenly Luffy was spit at. Luffy went angry looking around, and both saw a child who wore a t-shirt with a 2 kanji phrase on the front with knee-length shorts. Who are you 2? The boy said, looking at them. Luffy, instead of being angry, suddenly became curious of who this guy was. But Yuta was still furious that he spit at Luffy. Hey, you apologize to Luffy, Yuta said, but the boy did not respond and just left and ran into the forest. Who was he and why was he so mean? Yuta said and turned to Luffy. I don't care about that, come on, let's follow him, Luffy said, as Luffy and Yuta begin to follow him deeper into the forest. A few minutes later, after all that running and looking, they managed to catch up to him. Hey wait, Luffy said, trying to catch his breath with Yuta behind him. But soon enough another kid came out who had round eyes, a missing tooth and short curly blonde hair. He wore a large black top hat with a pair of blue goggles wrapped around it, a blue jacket and a cravat, and a pair of light blue cyan shorts. Ace, what are you doing bringing people here, the boy said, looking at Ace who just didn't care. Come on Sabo, they just follow me, Ace said, who was annoyed. We can't bring people here, remember the treasure we stole, Sabo whispered to Ace, so that Luffy and Yuta couldn't hear. You're right, maybe we should just tie them up just for safekeeping, Ace said, and Sabo just nodded and they both went in and tied them up to a tree. Hey you 2, why did you guys tie us up? Yuta said. The reason we tie you both up is because you 2 might reveal our secret base to everybody in town, Ace said, who was holding his pipe with Sabo behind. Hey, we won't tell anyone, Luffy said, wanting to fix the situation they are in. We can't trust you or her, maybe we should just kill you both, Ace said, as he was about to hit her with his pipe, but suddenly Luffy transformed into his dragon form that was about 25 meters long and used his body to protect Yuta and look at the 2. Don't you dare touch her, Luffy said, with some venom in his voice with some steam coming out of his nostrils and looking at the 2 who were sacred. Please don't hurt us, Mr. Dragon, Sabo said, who was terrified of the dragon right in front of him. Luffy, it's okay, PLS, don't hurt them, Yuta said, worried that Luffy might kill them. Ooh, sorry, I lost it, did I? Luffy said, looking at Yuta. Yep, maybe just try to explain to them how you can become a dragon, Yuta said, as Luffy turned back to his human form. What the fuck was that, Ace said, surprised that this kid could become a freaking dragon. Well, the reason why I can become a dragon is because I ate a devil fruit, Luffy said, telling the two. A devil fruit? I thought these things are a myth, Sabo said. He couldn't believe that devil fruit were real. Yeah, but you really ate one of this devil fruit, Ace said, but was confused. That idiot like him can get so much power just by eating a weird fruit. Yep, the fruit I ate is the Serpent Serpent fruit model. Dragon King, Luffy said. And with the two being excited with stars in their eyes and said cool, maybe you two want to join us, Ace said. Look at the two, and they just nod and welcome them and show them around the base. After that they went back to the cabin. You guys had so much treasure, Luffy said, with some excitement. Yeah, but not so much compared to Shanks and the others, Yuta said, turning to the two who were annoyed that she compared them to her father and his crew, but then Dayton appeared. Where were you there? I was looking everywhere for you three. Dayton yelled out, looked at the three, but then found another one. And who is he? Dayton said, looking at Sabo who was smiling at her. He's Sabo and he will be staying with us, Ace replied, looking at Dayton who was very angry. Why, you brat? Why would I care for this stranger? I have to take care of you three, but four is hard enough, Dayton said. It is already annoying that Garp dropped three of them in her home, but four. PLS Dayton, we will be good, Luffy said, making a cute face. Fine, but you four have to feed yourself from now on, Dayton said, and the four nod and they all went back to the cabin. A few months later. Garp has returned to Fuchsia village. Before coming back he heard something happening there while he was away from Dayton. She said Luffy, Yuta, Ace and this new kid named Sabo that they robbed, steal, ate all on their and made a team for themselves called a slew, and with all this information he just smile and laugh, and when he arrived on mountain going to the cabin he saw Luffy outside training, but what was so surprising that it is still earlier in the morning while the others are asleep. Hey Luffy, how are you? I'm happy to see you training, Garp said, looking at Luffy, but when he suddenly hugged him. Happy you're back, Grandpa, Luffy replied, and they began to talk about things like how he and the others battled the Blue Jam pirate, and after all that talking Garp thought to himself, maybe it's time for Luffy to have Soul Reaper. Seeing how Luffy is growing up, he decided to give him the family heirloom. Luffy, I need you to come with me to the battleship, I want to give you something, Garp said, and Luffy agrees and went with Garp back to the battleship. On the battleship, as they arrived at the battleship and went to Garp quarters in the ship, as they went inside Luffy saw many pictures of people he never knew, but saw his grandpa look at the sword hanging on the wall. Luffy, there is something I want to give you, is our family heirloom, Garp said, who was serious and pulled up a sword that was hanging on the wall. Why are you giving this sword? Luffy said, confused that his grandpa was giving him that sword. Well, this sword is our family heirloom, the Soul Reaper, Garp replied, looking at Luffy. Why are you giving it to me? Luffy said, waiting to know why his grandpa is giving the family heirloom to him. It was supposed to be given to your mother when she was younger, but something happened that time, but never mind that, Garp mentions, somewhat sad when talking about his daughter. My mother, wait, I have a mom, but where has she been all this time? Luffy said, but was more confused when he mentioned his mother who he never met. Sorry Luffy, I can't tell you, I promise your father that I will protect you from her, Garp said. He knows his daughter, but knowing what monster those disgusting pirates made her into, and what they did to his wife with this in his mind, it made him angry for a moment. It made him release some dark with purplish aura that made him accidentally destroy his desk. Grandpa, are you okay, Luffy said. For a moment there it felt like he couldn't breathe. Never in his life did his grandpa make him this sacred. Sorry Luffy, I just lost myself for a moment there, Garp said, trying to calm himself down. Yeah, and sorry for asking about my mother, Luffy replied, and Garp said it, okay Luffy, but what the time is right, I will tell you about your mother and everything that has happened, as Garp looked at the clock and saw it was 7 AM. Oh look, it's 7. I think the others are awake now, let's just bring you back to the cabin and remember to train with Soul Reaper, Garp said, as they both went back to the cabin. Time skip 10 years later. We see Luffy, who is now 17 years old, sitting at the edge of the mountain looking at the sea, but then Yuta comes out of the forest. Luffy, it's time for us to go out to sea, Yuta said, now 19 years old, who was ready to see the world with Luffy. Okay, but before we go, we still have to say goodbye to Dayton and the others first, Luffy replied, as they went to the cabin. What are you two brat doing here? Dayton yelled out, but trying to hide her tears from them. We just want to thank you for everything and goodbye, Luffy said, as Yuta did as well and left the cabin and went back to Fuchsia village. Annoying brat, Dayton yelled out, who was still while being crying, comforted by the other bandits. On Fuchsia village, we see both Luffy and Yuta leaving with Makino waving at them goodbye. I will miss them, they are growing up so fast just like Ace and Sabo, Makino said, wiping her tears remembering Ace and Sabo when they first went out to sea and with Whoop Slap beside her. And I'm not going to miss them. They are going to ruin this town's reputation, Whoop Slap said. Why are there so many criminals coming from their village? Come on, Luffy and Yuta are just following their dream, Makino said, looking at the two, and she smiled knowing Luffy and Yuta, they will be great pirates. While Luffy and Yuta are going further away from the island, suddenly a Sea King appears. The Lord of the Coast who Luffy was mad at for what it did to Shanks' arm. Yuta, I'm gonna get revenge for what he did to Shanks, Luffy said. Yuta just looked at Luffy who went in and punched the Sea King with armament hockey, and with that Sea King became scared and just swam away, and Luffy just smiled. Bio info, name. Monkey D. Lucy St. Lucy, race. Human, age. 45, height. 275 centimeters 9.05 feet. Alias. Lucy Sama, Her Majesty, My Little Princes by Garp, Brat and Demon Quen by Whitebeard, Big Mom, Kaido, Luce by Dragon, Mom by Luffy. Affiliations. SLAVERY former, World Government, World Nobles. Occupation. SLAVE former, World Noble Celestial Dragon, Supreme Ruler of the World Government. Relationships. Monkey D. Garp father, Saint Nerona Luna mother, deceased. Bragon husband, Monkey D. Luffy son, Saint Jagarsha Saturn maternal uncle, Saint Marcus Mars maternal uncle, Saint Topman Warcury maternal uncle, Saint Ithambrin Vnusjuro maternal uncle, Saint Shepherd Jew Peter maternal uncle, father-in-law, deceased, mother-in-law, deceased, Monkey DKONG paternal grandfather. Hockey. Advanced Armament Hockey, Advanced Observation Hockey, Advanced Conquerors Hockey. Devil Fruit. Copy fruit. Other devil fruit she copied. Gura no mi tremor fruit, Soru no mi soul fruit, Fua no mi float fruit. Description. This fruit enables the user to copy any devil fruit of any type logia, paramecia, zone, but there are two drawbacks to this ability. The first one is that there are 4 conditions before the user can copy the devil fruit. The first is that the user must know the name of the current user of that devil fruit, the second is that the user must know the name of that devil fruit of the current user. The third is that the user must have seen or witnessed the ability of the devil fruit in actions with his or her eyes. And the final condition is that the user must have physical contact with the current user to finally copy that devil fruit. And the final drawback to this devil fruit is that the user can only copy up to 6 devil fruits. And when the user dies, the devil fruit he or she copied will disappear as well, going back to 0 copies when the next user eats the fruit. Powers and abilities. Master hand-to-hand combat. She has been training her fists since she was little. Acrobatics like Luffy, Sho also can perform complex acrobatics without losing her balance. Copy fruit. Our mimicry the copy fruit allow her to copy the abilities of others' devil fruits. Reactive power level the devil fruit she copies are stronger than the original user's devil fruits. Gura no mi tremor fruit. Vibration manipulation like Whitebeard, she also can create powerful shockwaves. Air manipulation she can use airquakes through cracking the air and sending shockwaves through the air as a result. Water manipulation like Whitebeard, her shockwaves can create large tsunamis. Earth manipulation like Whitebeard, she can tilt the ground. Weather manipulation like Whitebeard, her shockwaves can affect the sky and bring great storms. Limited durability negation like Whitebeard, her vibrations can pass through the bodies of opponents, affecting them internally. Soru no mi soul fruit. Solem manipulation like Big Mom, she can insert souls into objects to bring to them alive like the homies Big Mom made, and can rip out the souls of those who display even the slightest fear of death. Non-physical interactation like Big Mom, she also can freely interact with souls. Soul and life absorption, like Big Mom, she also can take the souls of others and add it to her own power. Size manipulation and statistics amplification like Big Mom, she also can absorb her own lifespan and increase her size and strength. Life manipulation like Big Mom, she also can rip out the life of other people and put it in objects to give life to them. Delepathy like Big Mom, she also can hear homies telepathically. Durability negation and death manipulation through her life force stealing abilities. Fua no mi float fruit. Delekinesis like Shiki, she also can control inanimate objects after touching them once. Elemental manipulation like Shiki, she also can control earth, water, etc. after she has touched it. Flight like Shiki, by her clothes she is able to fly at will by levitating and controlling her clothing she wears. Chapter 3. Meeting a thief and saving a swordman. Out of the open sea we see Luffy and Yuta drafting in the sea, looking for an island to recruit a crew. So Yuta, how do you feel being back at sea? Luffy said, looking at Yuta. It feels fantastic, Yuta replied, feeling happy back on the sea. It's good to hear that, Luffy said. It's nice to see Yuta happy, but then he spotted a storm coming, then a whirlpool appeared, and seeing that he and Yuta decided to go inside the barrels that were with them when they left Fuchsia village and waited for the storm to die out. Few hours later, the storm had finally died out, and then a passenger ship came by, and 2 sailors came out of the ship and saw 2 barrels. Why are there barrels out in the sea? A sailor said, looking at his comrade, and he said, maybe they just fell out from another boat, and he agreed as they just pulled out a rope to reel in the barrels. While this was happening, a pirate ship was soon approaching and was firing its cannons to the passenger ship. Koby, what the fuck you are doing? A large angry woman shouted out, and this woman is Alvida. Sorry Miss Alvida, I will do, Koby said, but was cut off by Alvida. Just who do you think you are slacking off? Go back to work, Alvida said, turning to her crew. And everyone, who's the most beautiful of the sea? Alvida said, waiting for an answer from her crew, and they said, it's you Miss Alvida, the whole pirate replied, and Alvida just smiled. That right, come on, let's invade that ship, Alvida said, as they began to attack the ship. Back on the passenger ship, we see a young lady stealing from the passenger of the ship and holding a big bag of gold. Just need 30 million berries more than I'm free, the young lady said, as she is happy with the thought that her village will finally be free. As she was running away with her bag of gold to her boat, but then spotted some pirates in the way. You gotta be kidding me, the young lady said, angry at the thought of seeing pirates. As she was trying to go the other way, she accidentally boarded the pirate ship and tried to hide in the ship and went inside a room, but accidentally stumbled upon Koby. Sorry miss, but PLS don't hurt me, Koby said, who was scared that the girl might hurt him. Hey stop, I am not here to kill you, young lady replied, trying to calm down the lad. Oh sorry, but just who are you? Koby asked, wanting to know who this mystery woman is. Name's Nami, I'm a pirate thief, Nami said, as she introduced herself but was interrupted by 2 pirates. Hey Koby, where are you? One of the pirates said, trying to find Koby. Nami, you have to hide, Koby said, as Nami hid inside one of the rooms inside the ship, and Koby, trying to act normal and look at the 2 and says, hey guys, what you doing? There you, Koby, look at the barrels we found while we ransacked the place, one of the pirates said, as he and his friend held 2 barrels. So what inside, Koby said, but inside acting normal he started to be afraid. We don't know actually, but why don't you open it, one of the pirates said, as he and his companion both put the barrels down. Guys, why do I have to do it, Koby said, as he was nervous. Come on, don't be such a scaredy cat, one of the pirates said, not liking that the Koby was acting like a baby, but then suddenly a Luffy came out of the barrel. Finally wake, Luffy said, look around to see 3 people in front of him, and one of the pirates said, who the fuck are you, as his friend pulled out his cutlass, but then another person went out of the barrel, and that person was Yuta. Luffy, why did you have to disturb my nap? Yuta said, who was very sleepy. Yuta, not now, Luffy said, as Yuta saw the pirates right in front of her, then she understood. Hey, who the fuck are you people, and one of the pirates said, but stopped when Luffy punched him and his friend as they were knocked down. The LS don't hurt me, Koby said, cover himself, but Luffy approached him and said, hey, we aren't here to hurt, as Koby was relieved, but more pirate were going back to the ship. Shit, more of them are coming, Luffy said, as he brought Koby with them as they were trying to hide, but found a room and went in, but that room was where Nami was hiding. The coast is clear, Yuta said, as she looked out the door and then closed it, but Nami saw them and said, hey, you 3 can't just barge in here, as she was not happy that 3 of them here, they might steal her treasure, seen holding a bag of gold behind her back. Sorry, we barge in here, Luffy said, as he apologized to Nami. It's okay, but who are you 2? Nami said, pointing to Luffy and Yuta and wanting to know who these people are. Well, the name Luffy, and this right here is my girlfriend Yuta, Luffy said, as he kissed Yuta on the lips, who was blushing afterwards. Okay, Nami replied, but she thought maybe they could help her escape from the pirate outside from seeing somewhat of their strength. So what about you and him, Luffy said, as Koby introduced himself to them. Name's Koby, well, I'm not supposed to be here, and it's Nami turn, name's Nami, I'm a thief, and I make maps. Luffy was surprised that she can maps, maybe she also a navigator. Nami, right, are you also a navigator? Luffy said, wanting an answer from her. Of course I am, I'm the best navigator in the East Blue, Nami replied, with a bright smile on her face. Great to know, I want you to be part of my crew, Luffy said, but crew when Nami heard that. Wait, are you 2 pirates, Nami said, starting to realize that they are pirates. Yep, we are pirates, all right, Yuta replied, but Nami was not happy about the news. I will never join a pirate crew, Nami said, as she turned her head to the left. But calm on, it will be great, Luffy said, but Nami wasn't taking any of it. Of course not, I hate pirates more than anything in the world, the only things I like are money and tangerines, Nami replied, but didn't want to talk anymore to these pirates. I know, but I still want you to join my crew, Luffy said, but was unexpectedly punched in the head by Nami, who shouted. "I will never join your crew," Nami angrily replied, but Yuta was starting to get mad when Nami punched Luffy on the head. "I know you don't want to join our crew, but you have no right to hurt Luffy like that," Yuta said, as she punched Nami, and both of them started to fight right in front of Luffy and Koby. "Guys, can you please stop?" Luffy said, as he went between the two. As they keep on fighting and with Yuta telling Luffy, "What the heck are you doing? I almost done beating the shit of her," and with Nami, "Stop it Luffy, I don't need your help." And finally Koby, who did not like the situation they were in, Yuta and Nami fighting might alert the other pirates on the ship. "PLS stop, you two might alert the other outside," Koby said, terrified that Miss Alvia might kill him if she found out he is hiding 3 unknown people in the ship. "Hey guys, stop, you two know that we are not supposed to be here, remember Yuta?" Nami Luffy said, as Yuta understood, and she stopped fighting, so did Nami. "Thank you Luffy, now with that out of the way Miss Alvida might not find us," Koby said, who was relieved that they stopped fighting. "Who's this is Alvida?" Koby. Luffy asked, wondering who this person is. "Well, she is my captain, but I didn't want her to be my captain. I just accidentally went to her ship and she thought I was one of these guys who wanted to join. I didn't want to be a pirate," Koby replied, regretting never going to this ship. "Maybe I can get you out of the situation you're in," Luffy said, happy to help Koby out. "Really?" Koby replied, surprised that a pirate would help him. "Of course, but where is that Alvida person you were talking about?" Luffy said, as he went out the door. "Wait Luffy," Koby said as went out of the room too, as Yuta was about to leave, but stopped to look at Nami. "Sorry for trying to beat you up, but if Luffy really wants you to join the crew, then I'll have helped convince you that the life of a pirate isn't all that bad," Yuta said, looking at Nami before leaving. As all 3 of them left the room, Nami thought to herself, seriously, who are these pirates? But suddenly she remembered that ship was beside the passenger ship and the pirates on this ship might have seen her ship and will try to steal her money. "You gotta be kidding me, I forgot my boat is out there," Nami said, as she left the room and ran to her ship while Luffy turned back and smiled. "Don't worry, I will protect your boat, but I still have to help Koby first," Luffy thought to himself as he went to find this Alvida person. "Ah Luffy, how are you going to help me?" Koby said, wanting to know how he will make him leave the crew but feels worried if he does something bad that would make Miss Alvida mad. "Well, I'm gonna beat your captain of course," Luffy replied, but this made Koby worried more. "But Luffy, you can't, what if she kills you both?" Koby said, as he imagined Luffy and Yuta being squashed by her iron club. "It's okay Koby, we are strong enough to beat her," Yuta replied, helping calm Koby down. "But guy," Koby said, but was interrupted when he heard Miss Alvida's voice. "Koby, who are these people?" Alvida yelled out, looking at Koby who was terrified while Luffy and Yuta were not. "Hey Koby, who's this fat lady?" Luffy said, while everyone was shocked except Yuta who just laughed. "You brat," Alvida yelled out as she swung her club at Luffy who just simply dodged. As she growled and kept on swinging her club at Luffy who still dodged the attacks, while the rest of the crew were ready to fight as well but was stopped by Yuta. "Oh look at this, some kind princess trying salve," one of the pirates said, but was hit by a musical note. "Hey, I'm no princess, I'm pirate," Yuta replied, as she used her devil fruit powers by creating some musical note soldiers and telling them to attack the pirates. While Luffy punched Alvida in the stomach who shouted in pain and said, "How I am losing to a boy like you," who was in a weakened state, while Luffy just said, "That because I train every day just to achieve my dream to become king of the pirates." With Nami, "But everything is still here," Nami said, who was relieved that money wasn't stolen by the pirates, but soon heard an explosion. "What was that?" Nami said, hearing fighting back on the ship, seeing some kind of soldier that looked like a musical note that was fighting a pirate while the other stabbed a pirate in the chest. "Gotta get out of here," Nami thought to herself, seeing the battle on top of the ship, knowing that it might have been caused by Luffy and Yuta seeing somewhat of their strength, but did not know that they were that strong. Back on the ship, the battle still continued, but ended when Luffy punched Alvida so hard that she flew away from the ship, as everyone except Yuta was shocked, and what was left of the Alvida pirates were all terrified as they all jumped off the ship. "What a bunch of cowards," Luffy said, not liking how they fled the ship all of a sudden. "Luffy, I think we should leave now, we should leave the ship burning," Yuta said, as she called back her musical note soldiers. "Yeah, you're right," Luffy said, turning to his left to look at Koby and say, "Hey Koby, you wanna come with us since Alvida is now gone? You're free to go wherever you want," with Koby, who is still shocked of what happened, but went back to his senses. "Thank you guys so much," Koby said, happy that he was free from Alvida rant. "You're welcome, but we still need to boat," Luffy replied, as he and Yuta look for a boat but then remembered. "Wait, I remember now," Nami said she had a boat, "maybe we just tag along with her," Luffy said, thankful that he remembered that Nami still had a boat. As they ran back to find Nami while Alvida's ship was sinking and spotted Nami trying to leave but arrived just on time. "We meet again, Nami," Luffy said, getting on the boat with Yuta and Koby coming along too. "How the heck did you?" Nami said, surprised they got here so fast. "Never mind that, we just have to go," Yuta said, as they left and the passenger ship leaving as well with Alvida pirates, or what was left of them, were stranded on what was left of their sinking ship with marines coming to arrest them. Just how the heck did you guys beat those pirates, Nami said, not believing that some rookie defeated a crew of pirates. Technically I just beat them with my physical strength, Luffy replied, as he simply punched the air. But that doesn't explain how I just saw some guys that were dressed like music note fighting the pirates on the ship, and similarly after you three left the guys that I saw on the ship suddenly disappeared like what happened to them, Nami said, wanting more of an explanation of what just happened. Well, that was Yuta powers, of course, Luffy replied, with Yuta trying to explain to her. What powers? Nami asked, wanting to know what she saw on the ship. The guys you just saw were my musical note soldiers that were created by my devil fruit, the Yuta no mi sing fruit, Yuta answered, with Nami and with Koby who was listening to their convention. They were shocked. Wait, devil fruit, but I thought they were all just a myth, Nami said, not believing them. Of course they're real, even I have devil fruit, see, Luffy replied, as he slightly transformed his arm to his hybrid form. What are you? Nami asked, seeing how Luffy transformed. Well, I am Dragon, the name of my devil fruit is the Serpent Serpent fruit model. Dragon King, Luffy answered, wanting to see the reaction of both Nami and Koby. Dragon, Nami and Koby yelled out upon hearing that. Yeah, cool, right, Luffy said, acting so casually while Nami and Koby were not. Of course not, Nami replied. It's not like you expect one of the people you first meet can turn into a freaking dragon. It's understandable that not many people in the East Blue know that devil fruit exists, Yuta said, knowing that the East Blue was the weakest sea in the world. Yeah, I know, but we still need to find new crew members before we go to the Grand Line, Luffy said, thinking of a possible crewmate. Wait, the Grand Line, you guys want to go there, Koby said, terrified of what they just said. Yeah, but we need more crew members before we go there, Luffy replied, but already knows that Nami is one of those possible crew members. Really, because from what I saw you guys don't know where you're going, Nami said. That's why we need a navigator, and that navigator is you, Luffy said, pointing to Nami. Didn't I tell you that I don't want to join your stupid crew, Nami replied, getting annoyed, but Yuta was still watching the convention. Remember what I said back on the ship, Yuta said, as she stared at Nami. Fine, I won't let my emotions get the better of me, Nami replied, as Yuta just relaxed with the response. Sorry if Yuta was a little too harsh on you, Luffy said, apologizing to Nami. It's fine, but why do you want to go to the Grand Line? Nami asked, why would someone go to such a dangerous place? Because I have a dream to become the king of the pirates, Luffy answered. Even if you have a dream you can still die, Koby said, but was hit in the head by Luffy. I still dream, right, then why would I give up? I would rather live a great life rather than a boring one, Luffy replied, looking determined while Yuta just watched and smiled, and Nami who couldn't believe that was the reason why he became a pirate. Really, then do you believe that I can become a marine even if I'm not that strong? Koby said, wanting an answer from Luffy. If that's your dream then I support you all the way, and even if you're not that strong, you just have to believe in yourself, Luffy replied. But Luffy, I am not as strong as you. I have never seen anyone who has that kind of strength. I don't know what kind training like you and Yuta could have, Koby said, even with a. Technically my grandfather was the one who trained me and Yuta to become this strong, Luffy replied, remembering all the harsh training he gave them before he and Yuta, Ace, and Sabo left Fuchsia village. Luffy, who is your grandfather? Koby asks, wanting to know who this grandfather is and what kind of training he gives to both of them. My grandfather is Monkey D. Garp, Luffy said, but with his response, Koby and Nami were shocked. Vice Admiral Garp is your grandfather, Koby said, so was still shocked by the information given to him. Yep, he's my grandfather, alright, Luffy said, but this didn't stop them from asking more questions. But how can someone like you not be a marine? I mean, he's your grandfather, a freaking vice admiral, for crying out loud, Nami said, like how can a vice admiral let his grandson become a pirate? From what I heard he killed 1,000 of pirates in the past, Koby said, remembering reading a 36-year-old newspaper about him killing 1,000 of pirates, and it said he killed the captain by crushing his head. Wait, really, the old man never told us about that, Yuta said, surprised that the old man did that in the past. Well, he did say he will talk about in the future, so I think if he ever meets him again, it will probably be in the Grand Line then, Luffy said, now wanting more answers from his grandpa. Before it was his mom, and now it's him killing pirates without remorse. What really happened in the past that would make him kill them? Luffy to Yuta, Yuta said, as she tried to wave her hand in front of him, trying to snap him back to reality. Oh, sorry if I space out, I was just thinking of what Koby just said, Luffy replied, as he tried to relax for a bit. It's okay, not everyone knows everything about their family, Yuta said, even though the old man might be a marine, there has to be something that triggers him to that extent. What about we just move on to the next topic because you know guys, Nami said, feeling it might be uncomfortable for Luffy. Yeah, you're right, we still need a swordsman, navigator, sniper, cook, doctor, and helmsman to crew, but we're still planning to add people on the way, Luffy replied. What about Roronoa Zoro? He's a swordsman and from what I heard he's in Shell Town, Nami said, trying to tell them that so they can finally leave her boat. So we're off to Shell Town to find this Zoro person, then Luffy said, and he looked to Nami and says, "Hey Nami, can you PLS lead the way?" As Nami just nods and helps them sail to Shell Town. 3 hours later, they have finally arrived at Shell Town. "Guys, we're here," Nami said, as they sailed into Shell's Town. "Here we go," Luffy said, looking at the town. In Shell's Town. As they arrived at the port, Luffy and Yuta looked at some of the houses near the port. "Finish, we are here," Luffy said, as Nami docked the boat at the port. "So are we going to find this Zoro person to join our crew?" Yuta said, "Look for any possible place where this Zoro person would be." "Hi guys, can I go with you guys to the marine base?" Koby said, feeling excited to see some marine to ask them to recruit him. "Okay, and what about you, Nami?" Luffy said, turning to Nami. "Yeah, I see if you have any money in this town and I'm keeping all of it, but if you want to find him it's possible in the marine base up there," Nami replied, pointing to the marine base that is on top of the island. As they arrived at the marine base, they saw a green-hair, muscular man tied to a pole with a little girl who was trying to give him onigiri. "Hey Mr. Zoro, I brought you some onigiri," the little girl said, and her name is Rika. "Sorry Rika, but I'm not hungry," Zoro replied, as he told the girl he was alright. But then a person appeared with 2 marines with him, and the person's name was Helmeppo. "You know Rika, you can't bring to the criminals," Helmeppo said, as he picks up the onigiri and eats one of them. "What? Why do they taste so sweet? They're supposed to taste bad, you can't just give this to him," Helmeppo said, as he threw them on the floor and stepped on them. "Hey you, it's not nice to do that to a little girl," Luffy said, as punched Helmeppo and went back and got by the wall. "Why you, I'm gonna tell my daddy on you," Helmeppo said, as he and his fellow marines flew to the scene to look for Captain Morgan, but Luffy didn't mind that they left. "Hey little girl, you okay?" Luffy said, looking at Rika for injury. "I'm fine, I just feel bad that they ruined Mr. Zoro food," Rika said, feeling even more bad that Zoro hasn't eaten for almost a month. "So you're Zoro, I want you to join my crew," Luffy said, looking at the Zoro who was tied to the pole with Zoro, looking at the little girl again who was holding onigiri and with 2 newcomers. "It's Urano Zoro to you, pirate," Zoro said, looking straight at Luffy. "Okay Urano Zoro, I want you to join my crew," Luffy asked, politely. "But before then Rika, can you give me your onigiri?" Zoro said, but Rika was surprised but got the onigiri that was on the floor that was stepped on by Helmeppo. "But Mr. Zoro, you sure I can just come back and make more?" Rika replied, didn't want Mr. Zoro to get sick. "It's okay, can you PLS feed it to me?" Zoro said, as Rika fed him the onigiri and ate it with great happiness and said, "It's delicious," as Rika just smiled. "So you want me to join your crew, right?" Zoro said, looking at Luffy. "Yeah, that right," Luffy replied, reassuring him. "I can't, right? I don't have my swords are inside the marine base," Zoro said, looking at the marine base that was right beside them. "We will find them, so don't worry," Yuta said. While this was happening, Nami went inside the marine base look for any money. "And if you find them, I might consider joining your crew," Zoro said, looking forward to seeing them if they can do it. "You can count on us," Luffy replied, as he and Yuta went inside the marine base. Inside the marine base. As they entered the base, some marine come right at them. "Hey Yuta, can distract you this marine for me while I look for Zoro's swords," Luffy said, as he punched a marine who just appeared right in front of him. "Fine go, but I wanna have some fun first," Yuta replied, as she battled the marine in front of her. With Nami, while Luffy was finding Zoro's swords, Nami tried to look for any money inside the base, but then found a vault and cracked it open and said, "There is much gold in here," and unexpectedly of events Captain Morgan appeared. "Who the heck are you?" Captain Morgan said, as he looked at her with an angry face. I'm Nami replied, feeling scared as Captain Morgan began to swing his axe at her as she closed her eyes accept her fate, but suddenly Luffy appeared and covered her, and received the impact instead. "Nami, you okay?" Luffy said, as he checked Nami if she got any injury, but she started to slightly blush. "Luffy, it's okay thanks," Nami replied, as she hugged Luffy as he hugged back as well, feeling warm from Luffy touch. "Oh, who add what we have here?" Captain Morgan said, interrupting the cute scene of the two. "Hey Yuta, can you hear me? Can you PLS get Zoro swords instead? I have to fight someone right now," Luffy thought to himself, while using observation haki to send his thoughts to Yuta, hearing him nod at her head as she went to find Zoro's swords. Where could they have put his swords? Yuta thought to herself, searching it in every room, but has finally found it. "Finally time to give it back to Zoro," Yuta said, as she left the room. Outside of the marine base, Yuta went to Zoro and untied him from the pole. "Here, will you help us?" Yuta asked, handing back the swords to Zoro. "So we're gonna kick some marine ass," Zoro answered, while Yuta just smiled as they went back to the marine base. Back inside the marine base, Luffy and Captain Morgan fought on top of the marine base, but the battle was halted for a bit when one of the marines came up on the roof. "What the heck are you doing up here? There are pirates down there, go back and fight them," Captain Morgan said, looking at one of his marines who was up on the roof. "UTC," the marine replied, but was unfortunately shot by Captain Morgan. You're completely useless, why would I want a marine under me if you are just too weak, and that's why you should died, Captain Morgan said, as he put back the gun, but was hit on the head by Luffy. You brat, Captain Morgan said, as he and Luffy begin to fight again. Luffy keeps on dodging the attack from Captain Morgan and says, just because you're a marine doesn't mean you have the right to hurt Nakama, as he and Morgan clashed. While Zoro, Yuta and Nami were fighting some of the marines, Zoro would unleash his three-sword style, while Yuta created more musical notes, and Nami who fought with a staff and back to Luffy. Why can't you just die, brat? A furious Captain Morgan yelled out, still swinging his attacks at Luffy, who got annoyed and punched him in the stomach that created so much force that he spit out blood. I had enough of you, brat, Captain Morgan said, while blood was dripping from his mouth, and attacked Luffy with his strongest attack. And then Luffy pulls out Soul Reaper and stops the attack from Captain Morgan, as he was shocked that some kid can stop his attack, and says, how did you, as Captain Morgan begins to lose his confidence and begins to feel fear while looking at the boy. What's wrong, scared? Luffy said, as he slightly transformed to his hybrid form and smiled and went in and destroyed Captain Morgan's axe hand. What are you, Captain Morgan said, terrified of the boy right in front of him. I'm your worst nightmare, Luffy said, as he created an energy/form Soul Reaper that slashed Captain Morgan in half, with his gold statue also cut, as well as we see Captain Morgan falling from the marine base. He killed Captain Morgan, one of the marines said, but instead of being angry they instead felt happy that the tyrant was gone. We're finally free, another marine said, as they all celebrated. And with this revelation Luffy smiled as Yuta, Nami, and Zoro came out of the marine base, as Luffy and Yuta celebrated their first win outside of Dawn Island, with Zoro their new crewmate and Nami who like a friend to them, even if they're pirates. Luffy did just save her life from Captain Morgan and Koby, who just tag along. Inside of the restaurant, so what now, Captain Zoro said, looking at Luffy who was eating meat. Maybe Orange Town, I heard that place crawling with pirates, Nami said, remembering hearing that from some people from the other town she visited. But then some marines came inside the restaurant. I want to say thank you for saving us from that tyrant, Captain Morgan, the marine said, but then continued, but you're all still pirates, so I have to ask all to leave. As Koby saw them, maybe, just maybe, he can become a marine. Koby, this is your time, Luffy said, as Koby went toward them. Sir, can I please join the marines? Koby said, wanting an answer from them. Are you sure you're not a pirate? The marine replied, confirmation from the boy who was with pirates, why he would want to join the marine. Because it's my dream of becoming a marine and I'd do anything to join the marines, Koby said, as he kicked Luffy in the leg, but he didn't mind that, he was just proud of Koby, who wanted to achieve his dream of becoming a marine. Then you're welcome to join the marine replied, with Koby who just smiled. I think it's time for us to leave, Luffy said, with them leaving the restaurant. On the port of Shell Town. Bye Koby, we hope we see you next time we meet, and when we meet it's going to be in the Grand Line, Luffy said, as he and the others go back to the boat, while Koby slightly cries. Let's go to Orange Town, Luffy shouted out, as he and Yuta, Nami, and Zoro prepared to leave. As we see Luffy, Yuta, Nami, and Zoro leave that port of Shell Town with the marine, and Koby saluted them, while Rika and her mother waved at them goodbye. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.